So in the last episode, which was going to be one of my arty-farty trying to be cool videos, we tried to make a resin table. Admittedly, it's very small and it was a bit of a baby one, but it was more of an exercise for me as I've never done one before. In this video, that might not even come to it might not even come out because I might completely bollock it up. So if we are watching this, then that's great. But I wanted to try and salvage and see if we can kind of put together something a little bit pretty, but it's just our little secret. So I'm going to carry on doing this. I'm going to sand this down. I'm going to glue this to the bench and then see if we can kind of get a flat plane on here. And usual wearing a respirator and all that kind of jazz. So follow along and hopefully we can start welding the frame together. Let's get started. Okay, so I'm reasonably happy here. So I've been sanding away and I've managed to kind of get a section of this reasonably flat here. Again, keeping an eye on, you know, not going too nuts. This is the base here. This is where it was. So I think if I kind of butt this in here, like so, and I'm going to glue this down temporarily with just some CA glue. And this is just, it's like super glue but really, really quick, and it's just quick and nice. So I'm going to temporarily just glue the base of this here. I'm not going to go too nuts because this thing is pretty strong. A few little dabs. I don't know if this is going to react, but we'll just have a little. Okay, so that now feels pretty solid. So I've got a flat-ish datum, which is going to be my MDF board that you can see here. So I'm going to keep sanding this down. What I might end up doing is I've got some really big, I think they're about 16-inch discs for my sander, my linisher, and I can turn this over and then use that as a block, and then kind of use maybe some black spray paint as a guide coat. Like what you're doing bodywork, but just to try and get this as flat as possible. Again, it's just going to be a little tiny side table top thing, so you know, it doesn't have to be flat, but you know, it might just work. So you know, even if I can't get everything, you know, these are going to crack and smash and it's going to come out of square, then I still might be able to just fill in a little bit down here if I really want to. I don't mind it not being perfect, but I think perhaps if this does go okay, which it seems to be doing, then I can, you know, just finish it off, polish it, make it look all pretty. Let's keep going. Oh, for little bit of an audio error here. I'm just going to go over to the voiceover now, and I'm just going to be sealing mainly the U, the sides and the top there with some cellulose sanding sealer, and it's just something I use typically on the wood lathe. Not used this stuff before on flat or hand stuff, but I let it dry for about half an hour and I started going through the grit. So I originally flattened everything down to 80. I started to then move my way up, but making sure that I'm keep moving that DA sander, because I've read that if you get the resin too hot, then it just creates a whole other heap of problems. And I don't have a lot of fine, really fine stuff. So I went up to 1000 on the DA pad, and now I'm just trying some friction polish, just to try and get some of those early on scratches out. Just kind of the best I can. I think I'll be investing in some finer DA pads and see where I go from there. Again, just using it with the DA and a microfiber cloth, and it seemed to work pretty well. But yeah, I then tried to move on to the onto a drill and just with a rag there, and to be honest with you, that worked better than anything. Not too fast and not too kind of hard wearing on there, and it got me where the best I could have got out of it. I'll put it that way. I think what does help as well is using the extraction hose. It really does seem to keep that that top layer nice and cool. And I'm just progressing up now to using some Hampshire sheen and just kind of hand finishing it. You'll notice as well that there is a crack, and there was a crack before I even started, just down one of the sides there. It really doesn't bother me, as this again is just a bit of an exercise for me to kind of learn really. Another little bit kind of cracked off the end, but I'll be trimming that later on down the line. And I'm pretty pleased with the results. Again, you'll see those the darker lines in there. I'm lucky it's kind of gone with the flow of the of it, but that was the glue, so that was my first error. So this is where I have gotten to, and the yew is really smooth. It's kind of the finish that I wanted. I don't like the over shiny. I want something hard wearing. Today this is just going to have a router set on the top of it, so it doesn't need to be really shiny, and this is my kind of practice for resin. Now I've been thinking on the size, and I had this crack out that has happened here, so luckily I'm wanting to make a really square table. So at the minute it's 180 wide by 200 wide, and I can knock off 20 mil, which is this bottom piece here, and that should work out pretty well for me. I've glued it onto here. I'm not going to try and take this off. I'm going to use this as the base. It would have been nice if I could have you know, made it kind of more see-through, but where it's going within the house, you're not going to be able to see through it anyway. And to be honest, if I didn't have this board, I think the resin just would not kind of bond and stick everything together. It just hasn't worked out for me. But it's not an excuse to kind of throw this. So I think it's still usable. And, you know, again, I'm wanting to combine everything that I kind of use and attempt to do. So I've got some welding to do next. So we're going to jump straight into that. And I'm going to do some lathe work as well, just for some finishing touches. So I'm going to take off a little bit more off camera. I might record that. I'm really nervous because I'm not sure how it's going to work on my chop saw. I don't know whether to do this with a crosscut blade on the table saw or use the chop saw. I think chop saw. We'll see how that works out. I'm just going to be taking out the human error here, and I've just jumped onto Fusion 360. I'm drawing a 2D sketch of my desired height, and what that's going to do, because I'm doing these angled legs, is that's going to give me the exact cutting size that I want to do, and it's going to give me the exact angle ready for cutting down to length. Right, well, I'm now going to start bubblegumming everything together, and I'm still learning on the TIG set, but these kind of basic miter joints, I can stick these together okay. Not the prettiest, but I've just gone round and weld prepped everything and made sure I've got a nice clean surface. Now, the eagle-eyed of you will notice that I am welding on a wooden workbench, and on top of that wooden workbench is part of a welding table that I've not yet put together due to a few reasons, but mainly is the steel stockholders have a minimum order charge that's quite a lot of money, and I don't really want to have the minimum order because I don't need a lot of steel. I need some legs. So I'm just kind of got to blag it on the side here at the minute. It's not the most ideal, but luckily it's easy to kind of move and manipulate into shape. So you can't see it in the video, but I'm using the foot pedal, and this torch is horrendous. So I'll be upgrading to probably a more of a flexible head one in future, a lot less bulky, because I'm struggling to hold it, to be honest. But everything kind of worked out okay, and I managed to eventually kind of get my eye in. I'm very inconsistent at TIG welding at the minute, so but practice makes better. Makes better for me. It makes better. Just going to grind everything up. That's just a quick image of me using the new ceramic discs that I've been using, which are great. And I've managed to just trim that down. I used the circular saw in the end, the chop saw, and it kind of worked fine. No problems there. What I found with the Evolution chop saw is that it's a lot easier to cut to length square, so do a 90-degree cut and get those, make sure that they are very even, and then do a second cut to actually do the angles. The thing with the chop saw is it's really hard to see, even on a bench, is if they had like a shadow line or maybe like a laser light, although I don't really like laser lights. I've just been sticking a torch on the other side of it and using a shadow so I can see roughly where the blade is going. Although this is just a table, you know, the dimensions have to be, you know, really tight here. So I cut them down to length, and I will then later on put the angle on. So often these saws are kind of described as being quick and dirty, which, yeah, they kind of are. And it's these kind of, you know, these have got to be really cock on. And it's something like this is ideal for bandsawing. I don't have one of those, but I can still achieve a pretty good amount of accuracy with it. It just takes a little bit longer to set up, and it is quick, and it's kind of low maintenance. I do like it, but it's not perfect. It's not a one-stop shop. So I did change the design just a little bit. I went down from 4 legs down to 2 because I felt the proportions looked a little bit, it looked a bit too chunky. So I've just kind of stuck with the 2 legs. I did cut out the 4, but I changed my mind last minute, and I'm pleased I did, really, because it just kind of looks well. So I'm just jigging everything up and making sure that it's as straight as can be prior to welding, tacking everything up and getting it as square as I can. I've flipped over now to the MIG welder because I was struggling to kind of hold it, clamp it up, because they're on an angle as well. This is ideal for the welding table, welding bench, so not ideal for me, but I just switched over to using MIG as I found it to be easier. I had a little bit of distortion on one side, so I'm just going to be using a bottle jack just to kind of knock that in and make sure that I've got this as flat and square as possible. And just with using a little spirit level, a torpedo level, it just kind of works out well. And just very quickly, I've just welded on some flat bar. I'll be drilling 2 holes ready to attach the top onto the frame. And this is just a very quick and dirty makeshift spray booth. I'm just using a little cheap heater just to preheat the steel, and I'll rest the spray can there as well, and just make everything nice, hot and warm. And we'll power on through the painting. It's very dull, but you get the whole idea. I've Scotch Brighted everything down, degreased it with thinners and panel wipe, and just kind of get it ready for paint. I like using the lathe where I can, and I'm just going to be making a little maker's mark just to put on the inside. So it's just a bit of 10mm brass, 3/8 brass, and I'm going to just metal stamp in the little anchor logo. I quite like just using the lathe for just the small little markings. I'm not really a in-your-face kind of, you know, whacking, you know, Anchor Designs huge logo on the side of it. I quite like these subtle little details. I think it kind of finishes off the project pretty nicely. Just going across to the little anvil and knocking in these punches. You can buy them with all sorts of patterns on, just online. I'm not sure where from. I think I bought this one from eBay. It's just the small little anchor one. There's nothing really special about it, but they do a job for soft metals. Our final assembly, I'm just putting some 3mm by I think 10mm small little screws on here. Really annoyingly I slipped with the drill and I've scuffed the inside, so I had to blow that in a little bit, but it kind of came out okay. I've gotten used to, since watching Adam Savage's videos, is trying to put on dates of things when I've made them, and it's quite nice to look back, and everything I'm kind of doing at the minute has got a little date on there. And yeah, all I'm doing here, instead of using hand drill, it's a bit aggressive, is I'm just using a twist drill in an old drill chuck and getting that down to size, because the drill can be a little bit aggressive. And because I've reduced the thickness of the MDF, it didn't quite go in as my test pieces have done, but it still looks okay. I might need to patch that in a little bit, and underneath could do with another coat, but I'm just running out of time on this. And there we are. I'm pretty happy with it. It turned out okay. I learned quite a bit, and I got out of it what I wanted. I'm pretty pleased with the results. So yeah, leave a comment. What do you think? See you next time. Dearest.
Yeah?
I made the table thing, the router stand.
Yeah.
Will you have a look, see if it gets your approval?
Oh wow, it looks awesome.
Ta-da.
Wow, well done.
Can you like try and make it a little less cinematic? Golly, look how nice it looks.
Check.
Fuck's sake, it's fucking YouTube. Go back again. Go back again. Take two. Darling, come and have a look at this table I've made for you.
Whoa.
Your line. Your line. Fucking we're shit at this. Say, go again. Go again.
What do you want me to say?
Say, God, you're good looking. I don't know. And then say something nice about the table. Oh, bollocks. That'll do.